friends. Welcome to Dads and Daddies, a podcast about the lives and times of adult gay men in the here and now. I'm Brian Rubin Sowers, the dad.
And I am Judson Morrow, the daddy.
Hi, Judson.
What up?
How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you so much. How are you?
I'm good.
Yes.
I have some updates and some questions.
Please.
So you will recall that I mentioned a recent blower's hookup that was quite lovely.
Yes.
And that he then reached out to me and said that a third person saw my review on his profile and wanted the three of us to get together.
I recall.
Yes. So the threesome happened.
Ooh.
And I have so many thoughts and questions for you.
I have answers.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of threesomes?
Let me put it this way. My husband and I played together with other people relatively frequently, at least once a month.
And do you ever have threesomes where it's just three strangers or like two other people that you've met via the app?
I had a threesome with a couple that I met at a party who invited me to their apartment maybe 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
But that was, oh my God, what is time? In my head, it was like 2 weeks ago, but it was probably 6 months ago. That's the first one that like comes to mind.
Right. But this dynamic of like three strangers where there's no couple involved?
Oh, not familiar.
At all?
Not at all, but that's rare for me. Yeah.
So it's interesting because there's nobody that has a shared language.
Right.
And so the closest relationship was me and the person who invited me over who had hooked up once before a week prior. Like that was it. And we had a lovely time and even lovely banter before and afterwards. I walked into his apartment. It was clear that we have a lot in common. He's super sweet. But this was still essentially three strangers. So
had he, question, clarity.
Yes.
So you and he had hooked up.
Yes.
As far as the third guy
Yes.
had the hookup,
No.
you had, okay.
He was new to all of us.
Got it.
He was actually in from out of town.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But here for business for a week or 10 days. So there was like enough time to plan and all of that.
What great New York hospitality.
Yes. So, gosh, I don't even know where to begin. There's so many things I have to say about it. So first of all, it was a blower's hookup. So when you have a threesome that is entirely side activity, it kind of like removes a lot of options.
Yes, but maybe also some pressure.
Yes, for some. I mean, you know me, I always want the full show. But anyway, no, so what I found was that there was oral and there was making out and there were, there was like, obviously like body contact and like touching and jacking off. There was nipple play, but that was kind of it. And so I felt like it didn't take long to exhaust all of the options.
I see.
Especially because, like I said, there wasn't any shared language really between the three of us and there wasn't a lot of pre-negotiation. So certain things just hadn't come up. Now, I love to rim my husband.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really get into rimming other folks. My husband and I were talking
I like
about
to do
this.
it. Yeah.
That like the way that he sees kissing is super intimate and doesn't like to kiss folks on hookups. That's how I feel about rimming. Like I'm happy to rim my husband. I have been rimmed by some experts and have made me realize this can be amazing.
True.
But it hadn't been talked about, so that felt like off the table. Like I wasn't going to go there. So anyway, all that to say, like the options felt a little limited, and it's one thing in a side hookup for me, like when it's just one-on-one. I think it's a little bit easier to kind of like read body language or signals, or even like verbally communicate in the moment. And also on the blowers, even though I do identify as both a blower and a blowee, most of my hookups have been with people who only identify as blower.
Mm-hmm.
And both of these folks, I think, I have to look back. I know the third, the one from out of town, only identifies as a blower. And I can't remember about I was going to say my friend, the one I've now hooked up with twice. But most of the hookups I've had on the blowers, it has been kind of pre-negotiated, casually, not but in our conversation that I am there to be blown, to be the flowy.
Was there ever a point in this threesome? I don't know what the word would be for this, but I'm envisioning like a 69, but that's also a triangle.
Yes, I was going to get to this.
Okay, great.
Yes. So that happened.
Cool.
So okay. So my point is, like, after a while, I felt like I had done everything there was to do.
Sure.
You know me. I believe a hookup is 20 minutes.
Absolutely.
I wasn't watching the clock, but I felt like, okay, like, this is
Siri, set a timer for 20 minutes.
Can you imagine? It's so funny because when I wake up the kids, you don't have to do this, but I just find it charming. When I wake up the kids in the morning, they each have a kid's version of an Amazon Alexa in their room. And they'll always ask for some extra time. And I'll say, set a wake-up timer. So then Alexa says, wake-up timer set. It could just say timer, but like I think it's charming to say wake-up timer. But can you imagine, like, Alexa, set my hookup timer for 20 minutes.
Hookup timer set.
Yeah. She would do it. Anyway, so so at one point I said, because we'd kind of talked about this a little bit, but also there had never been a three-way chat because I don't think the apps allow for that. So I had been having some conversation with one, some conversation with the other. And I know one likes to swallow, one likes facials, and I was like, do we do what the out-of-towner wants, because he's, the guest of honor, I suppose. He wants the facial. And so at one point I kind of sat up and I said, okay, so now where do I come? And they were both like, oh, are you close? And I was like, yeah. And so I came on the out-of-towner. But then, like,
you're done.
I was kind of done.
Yeah.
They were not. And I thought, like, oh, did I just kill the buzz? And, like, what do I do? And so my first question to you is, like, when do you come at a threesome?
Oh, yeah. I think for me, I can come really quickly, which I love.
Right.
Topping, bottoming,
but can you
side
come
action.
Again?
At this age, it takes a while.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I can. It is a possibility. But it's like, I've been with men who are 25 years old and they can come 7 minutes later.
It's like, I don't understand that. So, if I have come, that's going to be it for this hookup, for the most part.
Yeah.
Rare exceptions. There have been sex parties where I've been able to, like, do it again, and I always feel like it's a miracle. And
yeah, but like at a sex party, if I'm going to be there for a couple hours, like, I can take a break and regenerate. Yeah. I certainly can't do with the same person in 5 minutes.
Right. So back to my question, when do you come? Because, like, so then I was, like, laying there, and I was kind of like cuddling with the out-of-towner and, like, continuing to, like, kiss him, but it wasn't like a makeout anymore. It was kind of like a post-coital thing for me, but, like, well, no, it was beyond, it wasn't more than a peck. But it wasn't like a, full-on, like, I can't get enough of you.
I get it. Something shifts after you jizz.
Shifts.
Yeah,
but
the
they
kissing
were not
is different.
Done, and I'm like, do I leave? Do I, like, continue to help this along? I don't want to kill the buzz because here's this guy who's just come, and it was like, and you know what it made me think of? There's this, I don't know if this is true or not. I don't know if it's an urban legend, but I hear it a lot, that when you go to a Disney park, the Disney characters are instructed, it is part of their job, they cannot, if a child hugs them, the character cannot be the one to end the hug. Like, the kid has to end the hug. Like, the character has to stay in the hug as long as the kid wants.
Wow.
And so I was like, should I have held out until somebody else, like, what should I have done?
I think this is something that requires a little more communication ahead of time. Like, hey, how long are you guys anticipating this taking? And if you know that you're quick, I would get that out there ahead of time. Like, not,
Right.
oh, I'm coming over and coming in 2 minutes, but like, hey guys, would love to meet up. I have this amount of time. And you can hold off if you know.
Well, that's the other thing too, is I could have held off.
Right.
I can, with oral, I can hold off for quite a while. Like, I know you have said, you even prefer the firm grip of a hand.
Oh my God, I love a handy.
Versus a mouth. Yeah. So like, I can hold off, but like, I just kind of felt like we've done all there is to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I could come, and I came by essentially getting myself off at that point. Like, I sat up on top of him and finished myself because I was like, all right, well, it's time. So yeah, I mean, yes, I suppose, as always, open, honest, direct. I could have pre-negotiated, but like in the moment, I was like, oh, okay.
How much longer after you came did it take for them to come?
I mean, that's very hard
or
to
did
say.
You leave?
What's that?
Or did you leave?
No, I didn't leave.
Okay.
I didn't leave. I hung on. And after the fact, I was like, oh, hey, sorry if I killed the buzz. And they were both like super sweet and like, no, not at all. And I don't mean to sound arrogant or boastful or whatever, but like, I did kind of feel like the main event, I don't know, like they were both super into me. It was very sweet. So
that's
like,
great.
So they were very convincing that they did not mind. But when you ask how long afterwards it was, it's very hard to say because for me, it felt like hours,
Yeah.
But it wasn't, obviously. But I was sitting there like, it was, so that was one question. But then you hit on something too, and it kind of talks about, or it kind of goes with the pre-negotiation and open, honest, direct. But I was talking after the fact with my husband about the situation. And I said, like, again, I went in and, in advance, like I said, the one from out of town labels himself a blower only. And then my friend, my friend who I'd met once before and via the apps, I don't remember if he includes blowy or not, but our previous hookup had been like, he was the blower, I was the blowee. And in talking about this threesome, he kept saying like, oh, we're going to be fighting over your dick and like all this stuff. So I kind of went in feeling like, oh, I was going to have these two guys servicing me. But then once I was there, that kind of like went out of my head. And I was like, I wanted everybody to feel good. So I put the out-of-towner's dick in my mouth. And then we eventually fell into this triangle of sorts. Is there a name for that?
I think that there's an opportunity to name it. I can't think of anything at the moment, but I'm going to give it a good think
isosceles?
this weekend. Yeah. 360-degree angles. Yeah, the isosceles. Ooh, the isosceles.
The isosceles.
Too complicated.
Yeah, maybe. If anybody knows, if there is a term, I'm sure there's a term for it, but I'm not going to ask Google AI because I know they will get it wrong. I asked Google AI something recently. Oh, something about poppers, and it just told me, oh, I won't. Like straight up, like wouldn't answer the question.
Yeah, it's very limited in its capacity. It's very. I don't know. I think there's a lot of like moral.
Yeah, no, it wasn't limited.
Coding.
It wasn't about like a capacity limitation. It was about
Right.
like moral judgment.
Right. AI's judgy as fuck.
What's that?
AI's judgy as fuck.
Yeah. Well, I think also, the powers that be at Google don't want to be in trouble for providing information on Popper's acquisition. But anyway, so we get into this isosceles, and I'm not sure if it rolls off the tongue. And I think maybe I then like just set the wrong tone. Like I just should have. So Toby said, my husband said, when you have a hookup like that, or when he has a hookup like this, he kind of goes in knowing that they want him to only want to be blown. And that like, he says, to use your terminology, like he feels he's being of service to them because that is what they want, is that they want somebody to come in and just be like, suck my dick.
Great.
But I am like, I just don't see that in myself. I don't see, so I just like, oh, I just want everybody to be happy. And so I, put a stick in my mouth.
But they would be happy if all they wanted was to service you.
Right, exactly.
Is the daddy move.
That's how
we grow.
Yep. So that's what Toby was telling me. And so I was like, oh gosh, so I fucked up twice. I like went in and like totally changed the tone of what this was supposed to be, because had I gone in and just been like really happy for these two guys to fight over my dick, as I was told would happen, it could have been a really hot session. I could have come whenever I wanted to come. Nobody would have been, thought anything of it. And I would have walked out of there like this stud. But instead it was like, we all ended up trying to get each other off. And then I came so soon. And then listen, we all ended there, I think, wanting to do it
meet up again. Okay.
They did. But it was funny.
We learn.
Yeah. And so I walked out of there like feeling a little like, I don't know, ambivalent about the whole experience. And so I didn't rush to leave a review of this this person from out of town. But then he reached out to me, and not about a review, but he just reached out to me and said, what a hot time it was. And I was like, oh, again, I'm sorry if I killed the buzz. He's like, no, not at all. It's very sweet. And so then I left him a review. But I'm still waiting for my return review. But granted, I've checked, and he hasn't been online since, so I'm sure it'll come. But it made me think about. I want our listeners to know that when my husband Toby heard what you said about blowers reviews, that there is no such thing as too many. What? You want to
amendment?
Okay,
so because you speak so frequently about the blowers, I'm like, okay, like I'll give it a whirl, and I'm in a few conversations. It's fine. But it's fine. I don't really know how the map or like geolocational aspect works, because the guys that hit me up are like very far.
Yeah.
So that's a no, given time constraints. Not that I wouldn't go to these neighborhoods on other occasions.
Right.
But I did get a guy who had 23 reviews, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I need to add to that.
Right.
Like, I'm okay.
Right. So Toby heard the episode where you said that there's no such thing as too many reviews, and he said no, Judson's wrong. And we talked about it, and he feels that once you get to 7, then you can start to curate, because you can delete reviews. If people leave you a review that you don't want there, you can delete it. So he said you get to 7, and then you start to delete those that come in that you don't want, or if one that comes in that's better, you can delete an older one. But he said he thinks 7 is the good number.
I mean, I kind of want to do a sociological, anthropological experiment and just ask the guy with 23 reviews, like, hey, do you find that more reviews begets more action?
Right.
Because what I don't want to do, the whole purpose of this entire show is like to de-shame things. Yeah. And I don't want anyone with 23 reviews to feel like they're doing anything wrong or bad.
No, totally.
It just struck me as like, oh, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Right.
So I think there's a difference between you and me
I think there's lots of differences.
There's lots of differences.
And
I think I know the answer to this question, given the detail of this story. But like, how much about hookups, how much do you think about your hookups after the hookup? Because I
mean, rarely, if ever, unless it's a star hookup.
Got it. Because I just, I move on pretty quickly. We have a lot going on, so it's like, that was fucking great. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
And then I just like cruise into the rest of my day. And it's not until I sit down with you, or even on the walk over the morning of, that I'm like, walking through my week, seeing if there's anything interesting to share.
They can linger with me for the day if there was an awkward moment, something that made me, that, dinged my self-esteem, or, brought back those thoughts of shame. Somebody, sent us a question recently that we'll get to in a few episodes, about how they just can't get past the shame. Like, they want to have the sex, but they can't get past the shame. And I just responded, to tide them over, saying that, like it is hard. Like, the shame is so deep seated. It is hard to rewire ourselves. And so if there is a hookup that makes me feel like, why did I do that? I didn't need to do that. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're wasting time. You're what do you need the validation for? Look at your life. Like, all these things, so the shame does come up. And so in those moments, those hookups can stay with me, through the day. I find in general in my life, not just about this kind of stuff, that if I go to bed with anxiety, I tend to wake up reset. Like I don't like sleep tends to wash it away. So I don't really carry these things longer than that. The ones that I do carry longer are just the ones that were incredible that I want to hook up with again.
Because I had a bad hookup day yesterday, and by the time I went to bed,
Yeah.
I was already over it.
Right.
And now I feel great. Like hooking up today is not at all a priority for me. I have a lot of things going on that I'm looking forward to. I have work. I have you. I want to go to yoga later and get a haircut and spend time with my husband.
Yeah.
So a hookup isn't a priority, but I had this like really annoying day yesterday.
Yeah.
And it was, by the time I laid my head down, I was over it, not in like I'm over this, but I had worked through any of the feelings I had about it and woke up like very calm and happy.
Can I ask you a question? Had you talked about it with your husband?
No, because I went to a sex party after an AA meeting, and I didn't get home until around 11 o'clock p.m., and my husband had already been asleep.
Yeah.
I had found out on my way to the party that my husband was going to make coffee and get in bed with a book and be asleep by the time I got there. So we really didn't check in about it until this morning.
Because I was going to say, the one thing that is kind of my cure-all, like if I'm feeling bad about a hookup, talking to my husband about it.
Every time.
Because he always says the right things about it. He can erase it immediately.
Yeah, my husband too has a gift. Like he, in so many things, which we'll get to when we discuss love in a bit, he feels pain at my quote unquote failures or upsets and then celebrates my successes. And that extends to hookups outside of our relationship.
Yeah.
He says the right thing every single time.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us about your annoying day?
I can be super quick about it. So
I feel like twice now you've made comments that made me realize I spoke way too long about threesome.
No, I think the detail is important because people are like trying to figure out how to navigate this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So I had the day off yesterday and I went to yoga. I went and voted, was feeling proud of participating in my civic duty. And I had a decent amount of free time in the afternoon before I was headed into the city for AA. Someone I had met earlier in the week had said, let's connect on Thursday. I can host you at such and such a time. Nowhere to be found on Thursday. So that was irritating.
Yeah.
Then I spent a bunch of time online. I probably wasted 3 hours trying to like compensate for that loss. And then finally, I went into the city for AA and I was still so horny. And I just thought, there's a couple parties going on. I'm just going to hit one of these parties after AA. So I went and it was just so disappointing. I'm going to refrain from naming the party because I think when you attend sex parties, you should attend lots of sex parties because they're not always fantastic.
Right.
Some are just okay. And for me, I think this was okay minus for a couple reasons. I went in with expectations too high.
Yeah.
And also in keeping my side of the street clean, I was probably giving desperation. Like,
Right.
I think people can pick up on that.
Oh, absolutely they can.
So, and here's the thing, which makes it such a luxury problem. I did fuck a hot guy. I got fucked by 2 other guys. But what was so annoying about this particular experience is that I've never been to a party where there were so many men literally sitting around doing nothing. So there were I'm going to say like a dozen guys who were just sitting around doing nothing. And then everyone else who was kind of walking around and circulating in this space, it was definitely giving like 10s for 12s energy. Like it seemed to me like no one felt anyone else there was good enough for them. So nothing was happening. And then because I was desperate,
right.
I'm like, I'm like frantically approaching anyone with a hard dick, like fuck me. And it was a poor hookup day. It's fine. I did connect with someone on the way out the door, which was very sweet. And we exchanged numbers. They live in faraway Queens. So for them, I live in faraway Brooklyn.
Right.
And a party is basically going to be our only option.
Right.
Because it would, if we were to travel to each other's places, it would literally, even though they're both in New York City, take an hour and a half.
Right.
And I think that's just too much.
Right.
So it was fine. It was fine.
I'm sorry. That sounds like the way you describe that party is reminiscent to me of how certain back rooms can be when it's like everybody just wants to like experience what it's like to be there and say, because it feels sexy, but they're not really brave enough to participate. And so you have a lot of people like walking around and not doing anything. And then I'm the desperate one who's trying to make something happen with anybody.
Well, and I think it's interesting because that is not always the vibe. That is, for example,
at this party. You mean this party can be great. It's just this night was not.
I have never been to this particular party, so I don't know, but I've been to other parties by this promoter that I have enjoyed immensely.
Right.
But to what you're saying, the underwear party on Fire Island can be like that. Like I have been where in the back, like it is full on, everybody's doing the thing. And then on a different Friday night, it's like 3 guys are hooking up and then everyone else is just kind of like milling around.
Yeah, I mean, that is the back room I had in mind. Yes.
Which sells my point that you should go to a lot of parties because they don't always, even the same party doesn't always have the same energy.
Right. That's what I was getting at, yeah.
And also, I'm proud of myself for going. I'm proud of myself for trying.
Yeah.
I'm always happy that I put myself out there to say, like, I'm attracted to you. Do you want to do this thing? And yes, I get how annoying it is for someone to sit here and be like, oh, I only fucked 1 guy and only got fucked by 2 guys. Like, I get that. I just wanted something different.
Yeah. You're allowed.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And now, today, with it off my radar and a sex party to go to on Saturday, I'm set. I'm chilling.
Okay, so now that we've commiserated about our hookups this week, should we listen to somebody else's hookup of the week?
Let's listen to somebody else's hookup.
Yeah.
I think our listeners would enjoy that immensely.
Yeah, let's bring some optimism back into the world of hookups.
Hookup of the week.
Hi guys, from Germany. A hookup story. Well, it wasn't intentional, but the few time in New York at the beginning of May were, how shall I put it, successful. Went straight from the roof of the Rockefeller Center to a he wanted my baby date. 20 minutes. Brian, you're right. Got a blowjob at 4 a.m. in the bathroom of a guy's hotel room while his partner was sleeping. Maybe not a hookup, but I met an Instagram contact who showed me the city, and that was very sweet. Last but not least, a dinner date with a young one. I'm 58. He's 29. He texted me on the Scruff app. We ended up at my hotel room. Not so bad, I think. Also, I couldn't manage it to hook up with you guys. The crossing with the Queen Mary 2 back to Hamburg was then rather quiet. But I didn't expect seeing so many gay guys among the passengers. So even without hookups, for me, it was very entertaining.
Hookup of the week. This guy took a boat to Europe?
That's your takeaway?
I'm so happy for him. This is exactly what I want people to be able to experience when they come to visit New York City. Like, it doesn't just have to be fucking, right?
Yeah.
Like, he met this Instagram friend who showed him around. That's awesome.
I love that, yes. I was particularly turned on by getting blown in a hotel while the partner was asleep.
Oh, absolutely been there. It's
been there?
Yeah, I've definitely gone to a couple's home when one is sleeping.
Right.
It's great.
I have to say, I'm going to admit something. I was so horny at some point, I don't know if it was this week or last week, where I woke up in the middle of the night and got on the apps, my husband asleep beside me, and I thought, would I really sneak out right now for a hookup? But I knew I really wouldn't, and I had a conversation. There was somebody who really wanted me to come over, but it didn't happen. But yeah, it's I love that part of the story the most. But actually, no, the part of the story I love the most was that we have a listener from Germany who sent in a question, a hookup of the week. That's so awesome.
It's super awesome, and the fact that he validated that 20 minutes is the time frame for a hookup.
Yeah, well,
so it is a global phenomenon.
It's a global phenomenon.
This is not just 2 Americans who feel this way. This is worldwide.
Yeah. It sounds like you had a great trip. I'm sorry we couldn't meet you either. Let us know next time you're out in New York, and we'll let you know when we're in Hamburg. But thank you so much for listening from Germany and for sending us a Hookup of the Week from Germany. That was awesome.
Yeah, bro, hit us on the gram. We'll hang out.
All right. Well, let's take a quick break.
See you in a minute. Love is love is love. Blech. I get so mad about it because I'm probably, obviously as a gay person, I don't think love is love. I think queer love is special and different.
Okay. Would you like to expand on that?
Yeah. I mean, we're told early and often and over that we are different, that we're bad, that we're not good enough.
Yeah.
So I think as a queer person, to love openly another queer person, it takes a different level of resolve and strength. And it's not to say that we're the only ones. Like, there are certain heterosexual matches where, like, maybe the parents aren't into it, or there's like lots of obstacles in place, so it feels like work, but it's worth it. But it's more or less built into or baked into the cake of gay love.
Yeah, I've never thought about that.
Oh, I think about it constantly.
Yeah.
I don't like the comparison that it is the same. It is different and better. So give me my rights, please.
So yeah, I mean, love is obviously an enormous topic. Where do you want to take this?
I would like to know, let's start here.
Yeah.
When did you know in your heart, in your body, in your brain, that you were in love with Toby?
I mean, super early on. Our funny story is that, as everybody knows, we met on Grindr. It was not an immediate hookup. I tried to lure him to my apartment, but he wasn't feeling up for it, but he was obviously into me. And so we exchanged phone numbers, which is something I don't do now. And I don't remember doing it then, but somehow, he seemed like such an ideal to me, that we exchanged phone numbers. We made a dinner date a couple nights later. And this dinner date was, truly special. I mean, just like the conversation, the way it flowed, what we had in common. We laughed so much. I mean, my husband loves to make people laugh.
He's very funny.
It was just amazing. But we are gay men, so it did end with a hookup that night. And as Toby likes to describe it, we traded apathetic blowjobs. And it was a freezing night. It was January 3rd of 2012. And Toby doesn't believe in the feels like on the weather apps. I do. But it was like, it felt like 10 below, I think, or something like that. And so my dog at the time, my recently passed dog at the time, was not quite 3 years old. And after our hookup, I was going to take her for a walk. And so I took the elevator in my building down with Toby, and we get to the street, and my dog, in my head, my dog had a very specific route that I would walk her, because I knew where she would do her business, and it was on this very specific route. And so he points a different direction, says, "My bike is over there." And I said, famously, "Okay, bye," and turned the opposite direction with my dog. And so he thought that was it. We had just, like, it had been a great dinner date, but then, like, the apathetic blowjobs killed it, and that was the last he was going to see me. I mean, I'm sure I kissed him on the street goodbye, but we had just been making out and had each other's dicks in our mouths, so I didn't think there was much more, and it was freezing cold, and I needed to walk my dog, and so I just said, "Okay, bye," and left. And so we didn't see each other. Our second date didn't happen for another couple of weeks. He reached out to me a few days after our first date because we had talked about a specific Broadway show on the date that he was then invited to go see. And so he told me he was going to see that. And then later that weekend, our first date was on a Tuesday. And later that weekend, I was on Grindr and saw that he was on Grindr. And so I messaged him there. But it finally, a couple weeks later, I invited him over to watch the Golden Globes. And I remember just spending most of that date on my couch, naked with him, watching the Golden Globes. And it was just, again, another perfect night. And I think because we had gotten through the initial awkward hookup, this time it just felt much more, there were less expectations attached to it. And from that moment, we were kind of addicted to each other. And I fell in love very quickly. My husband, to know him is to love him. So I felt so lucky that somebody this sweet and funny and smart and attractive, like, was wanting to spend this time with me and be naked with me and seemed to enjoy my company, and it all just felt too good to be true. And so I fell in love very quickly.
I love that it's also, this is a long love, and it's the product of some terrible communication on your part. But like, I love that an apathetic blowjob trade turned into this partnership.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes people put so much stock in what the sex is like the first time or the first couple of times as an indicator of how it's going to be. Not necessarily true.
Yeah. Our sex was not good the first month. Well, we had good moments. And then, and I hope Toby doesn't mind me revealing this, but like we spent so much time together that first month after we got past this like 2 weeks of not seeing each other between the first and second dates. We, like I said, we at that point kind of became addicted to one another. And I think the sex was fine, but then he stopped being able to get hard. And so...
Yeah, he's going to love your sharing that.
Well, listen, this was how many years ago now?
Yeah.
13 years ago. And it was for a few weeks. And I think, because we've talked about this since, I think in his mind, there was also feeling like all of a sudden a lot of pressure on this coupling.
Of course.
And so this was back before before I was the person that you hear me, speak like on this podcast every week. And this was before prep. So I let him fuck me raw. I thought that would be like a solution to the problem. And I think it was, and it helped. Had I made decisions based on how our first month of sex went, I wouldn't be in this. God willing, I don't regret saying this. I don't think I ever will, but like in this near perfect marriage, like I'm so blessed and in love, and I love our life. Had I based it on my judgment of our sex the first month that we were together, it would never have happened.
I had a very opposite experience in that my sex with my husband at the beginning was incredible.
Yeah.
Like when he opened the door to his apartment, the first time I came over, I was just sprung. Like he's just so my type, and the sex was so good.
Yeah.
And then the sex continued to be really good.
Yeah.
And I think I've mentioned this previously. We opened pretty quickly, like 6 weeks on, 6 weeks into dating, whatever you want to call it at the beginning. We went to our first sex party together, but I really wasn't thinking about having sex with other men at the time because I was just so into him.
Yeah.
And what I'm grateful for after all this time, we're celebrating 15 years together, 10 years married in October, is that kind of love, that initial love, that has to fade because it is too consuming.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the sexual attraction has to fade, but like sex will evolve, emotions will evolve. And I, like you, felt very in love very early on. And because I was young and also I've done a lot of work on regulating my emotions and speaking up and not speaking up. But I didn't feel like I had a lot to lose by telling him early on that I loved him.
Yeah.
And his response to me was, I'm very lucky. And I understood it at the time, like, okay, he loves me. He just isn't ready to say it.
Right.
That's how I took it. I wasn't like, this is over, this isn't love. I
Right.
thought to myself, dude, you love me, you're obsessed with me, you just aren't comfortable saying it yet. I'm not going anywhere. And now we're still, after 15 years, like, kind of obsessed with each other. Like,
Yeah.
that's the joke in our house. Like, he points out the most minute details about my behavior,
Yeah.
which in some ways in cohabitation can be so fucking annoying. But in other ways, it's very sweet for him to notice.
Yes. I do want to, I mean, I've said this on many an episode. I have incredible sex with my husband now. I don't want to leave it with that we started our first month with, some awkward or not fabulous sex, because I believe 100% wholeheartedly, not kidding myself or anybody listening, that my sex with my husband is the best sex I have. But yeah, when you say, what did you say? The love, you said it evolves, but at first you made it sound like it dissipates, but then you also said that you and your husband continue to be obsessed with each other.
It's not that the love dissipates, it just becomes a different thing. Like,
Yes.
in the initial parts of a relationship, that's sort of like obsession,
Right?
Where you only ever want to be together, you're thinking about this person all the time, you're like making plans for the future. Don't get it twisted. I'm constantly making plans for the future with my husband.
Right.
I see the world through how my behavior is going to affect his life.
Right.
I keep him in the front in most of my decision making.
I think that is love.
But I also have a remove from that sort of like obsessive lust at the beginning, because I need to concentrate on other things.
Right. Yes. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think it's even like, I can't remember now where I read it. I've been reading so many books as I work on my own about marriage and relationships, but that I think it's like scientifically proven that like that does not last, and that initial obsession and lust has to fade. But there's like there are biological reasons behind that. But yes, but like you, I still am obsessed with my husband, and I think the same can be said for him in that, like you said, it's so, I love how much he knows me,
Mm-hmm.
and how much I know him. And, now 13 years later, 11 married, just what a comfort there is in that there is somebody who knows absolutely everything about me, the good, the bad, the ugly, still loves me for it, and knows how to comfort me and like keep my heart safe. When I knew, you might find this incredibly cheesy, but when I knew that this was going to be our topic today,
Love is cheesy. Love is so fucking corny.
I looked up some of the quotes from my vows at our wedding, because I did, because I remember that I felt these 100% then, and I actually feel them 100% now. And I said, there's nowhere I feel safer than by your side, which is absolutely true. Like, as long as he is with me, I feel safe. I said, I've never before trusted anyone with all my heart the way that I trust you. I said, this is a little flowery because it was on a stage in front of hundreds of people, but I said, I vow that as we follow the curves of life's path together, as we grow and as we evolve, I will always cling tight to my faith in you and our love for each other. I said, I vow to always try to give you the same sense of comfort and peace that you give to me, and wherever I am, I only feel right if you are beside me holding my hand.
That is a perfect, lovely vow. If my husband said that to me in the kitchen while we were like cooking or doing dishes, I'd throw up.
Sure.
Vows are meant to be grandiose.
No,
They're
of course
meant
they
to
are,
be
but
flowery.
the reason I'm reading them is because like they really do express for me the two things I think I value most, or maybe they're the one thing, is just how safe I feel when I'm with Toby, and how deeply, deeply, deeply I trust him with my heart, with, the decisions he makes for our family. I just, I'm really trying to think about how to pass that kind of like life advice on. Like, how do you build that kind of trust? But I think part of the falling in love so quickly is it was there. Like it was kind of innate, and there was something in our connection. I've said this before too. I always thought I would be a jealous person. And then with him, the trust was so innately there and deep that it was very clear to me early on that like, oh, that's not a thing.
Absolutely.
I mean, jealousy comes up for sure. We've done a whole episode about it, and there are moments, but not like I'm. There's never a concern for me that there's anybody who could have with him what I have with him.
That's incredible. That's incredible. And I think too, we as queer people, especially of our age, when the representations of love as we were coming into love as young people were so straight.
Yeah.
We're so straight. I never pictured myself. I didn't even know how to picture the relationship that I have now.
Right.
The love that I feel now for my husband. Not just because it was heterosexuals involved and representations in music and representations in movies and representations in books, but there are so many things in popular culture that have to do with love that don't get discussed.
Right.
Even in the shows and movies where you see conflict, I think it's crazy that after all this time with love taking up such a huge part of the culture, that there's things that go undiscussed. Like, for example, I feel like the running narrative, gay or straight, is like, oh, you feel this attraction, you fall in love, you overcome the obstacles. They never discuss, other than outside like Meet the Fockers, what it's like to be embedded into someone else's family dynamic.
Right.
Where is that conversation?
Right.
Like
you said, it comes up in comedies where, you know, the city transplant has to visit the country person's
the
family.
Sweet Home Alabamas of the world. Yeah, but it's like, how do you decide how to support the person you love as they interact with their family?
Right.
A dynamic that has existed before you stepped into the picture.
Yes.
What can they say to you about your interactions with your family that you might actually hear?
Right.
And one of the things that is so helpful in my love for my husband and the way that we're able to navigate our relationship lovingly is not only do our families accept the other, but we also give this person space to be who they are within their family dynamic.
Yeah.
Like when I watch my husband interact with his brothers in front of their dad, even though he's in his 90s and they're all in their 60s, I'm just like, you guys are fucking 12. You know what I mean? Like these patterns run super deep, and you can either get upset about it, or you could just think, I love this person and they had this relationship far before I was ever even around. There's nothing that I can change. I can just, in a loving way, support them.
It is one of the tougher challenges.
Absolutely.
I find. And I think, I know that Toby has some challenges when we are with my family because my dynamic with my parents is so different from the dynamic he grew up with. And, you know, as coastal Jews, we can be, our emotions can run very high, but then moments later, it's like nothing ever happened. Both positive and negative. And it's just for a Midwesterner like my husband, like it can feel very volatile and very unstable. And he has come to accept that and get, you know, used to it. Whereas for me, some of the way his family interacts with like treading lightly around topics and not being open, honest, and direct, like makes my blood boil, but like I just have to like understand that this is his family dynamic. And so it's one of the bigger challenges of being truly part of someone else's life and being embedded in their family, that it's that these things might go entirely against your grain, but you have to, if you truly love and support your partner, you have to find a way to go with it.
There is so much relatability here because of the actual structures of our family,
Yeah.
and that I am a Midwesterner married to a Jewish man, a native New Yorker. And what's interesting is that I have boundaries with his family that I do not have with my own, because I didn't learn to. I started to learn how and why you should create boundaries once I was part of their lives. So it was easier to kind of start from scratch than to go back. I mean, Bruce is like you. He gets so frustrated that I just let things slide with my family. And it's just like, dude, what can I possibly say?
Right.
You know, my mom still smokes cigarettes after my dad died of smoking related causes.
Right.
And her attitude is like, oh, well. So my attitude is like, oh, well.
Right.
I can say what I can say, and I can express, here's the L word again, love for her and hope for her health. But my husband now knows that people, especially because he is married to a drug addict and an alcoholic, albeit one in recovery, he knows that people are going to just make their choices based on their addiction.
Yeah. Let's move into family love then.
Sure.
Because for me, that's where I find the biggest challenge for me personally. And I've talked about this before, that I used to feel as obsessed as I am with Toby, or, you know, and was at the beginning of our relationship. Like, I feel like growing up, my obsessive love for my mother and sister.
For or from?
Both.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, the three of us were such a tight unit. You know, my father, as I was growing up, spent a tremendous amount of time overseas for work. And so there were two dynamics that we lived in. There was a dynamic when he was away and the dynamic when he was with us. And it kind of really created this like him versus us, you know, mentality. And so we kind of felt like it was us against the world, you know, and I just, it has really evolved, and I don't have the closeness with either my mother or my sister that I did growing up, which really pains me. And conversely, and maybe because my relationship was strained so many years with my father, the fact that he has come around and now treats me with respect and treats me as a peer, and really has found a way to accept me as a gay person, shows so much love to my husband and my kids, that it is easier for me to interact with my father now than it can be with my sister and mother. And probably because I have so much love for them that when they make decisions and live their lives in ways that frustrate me, it's just too hard for me. So my love, the family love, has been like a real struggle. But obviously, or I hope obviously, I still love them deeply, and I'm working on trying to find a place in my heart and in my mind where I can approach them, kind of meet them where they are, and continue to find that love for them. But like it used to be, I spoke to my mother on the phone every single day, and now it's like once a week.
Once a week as an adult with their own family is still pretty good.
Yeah.
I think when I tell people that I speak to my mother once a week or twice a week, they're like, "Oh, that's a lot."
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, depending on who you ask. Like my sister-in-law talks to her mother multiple times a day, every single day.
Right.
And I hear what you're saying. You can love someone, and this is definitely, it comes into play with family. You can love someone and deeply disagree with their choices. That's okay. I love my mom. I disagree.
Right.
I loved my dad. I disagreed.
Yeah.
I love my brothers. I have the opposite relationship with my younger brother, for example. We are Irish twins.
Okay.
But we were both so clocked into trying to survive when we were kids.
Yeah.
We weren't a great support to each other. We got along perfectly, but we really ran into the arms of other friends' families for the support we were not getting at home. My older brother was just kind of out of the picture. It's crazy. My husband is 20 years older than me, and I feel like peers. My older brother, only 4 years older, has just always felt older to me
Right.
because we were growing up. It's every stage was so distinct, right? Like when I was in the 8th grade, he was graduating high school. When I started high school, he went off to college. So we just really never spent a ton of time together. I do feel love in my heart for him.
Yeah.
I just don't know him
Yeah.
super well.
Yeah.
I kind of know him. Whereas my younger brother and I are very close friends. Like he comes to New York. We went to Las Vegas together for a concert in October. We text weekly. We share book recommendations, show recommendations. My younger brother is one of my best friends. And I love him deeply in a way that I just could not growing up because I was trying so hard to just take care of myself.
Yeah.
Like his struggle was similar. I mean, he's not gay. He's a little gay, and it's my fault. But he was growing up in the same house where there was a lack of supervision,
Right.
conditional love. He was just trying to excel and be the best and find friends and other friends' families that he could get that support from. Because we certainly weren't getting it from our parents or from each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this conversation, well, we had a conversation about family many episodes ago, that started to inspire me to find new ways to communicate with my mom and sister. And so I'm hoping this conversation kickstarts that again. And then the other, for me, part of my family, of course, are my kids, who I feel the obsession that you were talking about, and like early in your relationship with your husband and early in the relationship with my husband, that's the love I feel for my kids. Like I am obsessed with them. It's really challenging to describe, I think, a parent's love for their children, because you hear about it so much, you read about it, and people talk about, oh, your heart expands when you have more kids, and but it's unlike anything I've experienced. It's my favorite thing in the world, and I'm not telling all you all to go out and have kids, but I'm just expressing that, like, it is unlike anything to be part of somebody's development and to watch them learn about the world and be there to answer their questions and to be their support and their safety, their protectors, but also be prepared to push them out of the nest, little by little, and make sure they're prepared for this world. It is fascinating to me. I've been saying this for a number of years now. Like, once your kids get old enough to have like their own social lives, even in, as young as like the first grade, my younger one comes back and talks about these conversations and these social dynamics. And, that's the beginning of like preparing somebody to, be pushed out of the nest. It's very intoxicating. It's also exhausting. And by the end of the night, I need them to be in their beds and leave me alone. But I do, that's another love. And then the other love I wanted to talk about is for chosen family and friends.
Mm-hmm. Before we get there, I will just say I love your children. I feel love in my heart for them. I feel a certain tenderness, so I can only imagine what it's like as their parent. And what I also appreciate is I have never felt ever in a way that is different from culture writ large, from you or from Toby, that my decision not to have children is not valid.
Oh, yeah.
I hear you when you're saying like this love is unique, this love is special, but what you're not saying is, and if you do not secure it, you are a lesser person.
No.
Which I feel particularly bad for straight women, because we really hold their identity as mothers.
Right.
Like, if you know a single woman or a married woman and childless in her 40s, the way that culture treats them is fucking insane.
Right.
Just because they don't have children.
Right.
So I appreciate that you recognize that it's out there, that it's an option, that it is super special, and that it's okay if it's not your journey.
No, absolutely.
You're providing a framework for how you could possibly make it happen,
right,
but also not judging us for saying no.
No, I judge you for so many other things.
Chosen family, take it away.
No, I mean, speaking of, I just like, I don't know. one of the strongest loves I feel is for my friends.
Mhm.
And I've said this many times, but you and I are in this shared circle of friends that is fairly new, about 3 years old for me. You knew many of these people longer. But you and I started to hang out in this group of friends in the summer of 2022, July 4th. So we're coming up on 3 years, and the deep love, genuine, like real love that I feel for you and these people in this friend circle is very real. And every time we walk away, Toby and I, from any time with you all, we just talk about like how blessed we feel to have found this love, this at this point in our lives. And I have love for so many friends. I have a friend that I grew up with that we were, we knew each other. Our parents were close friends, very close friends when we were born. I'm 5.5 months older than him. We have pictures of the two of us at that age. He's a newborn. I'm 5.5 months old. We both ended up coming out of the closet at the same age, and he's like a brother to me. I have a friend that I met in my late or mid-20s, actually mid-20s in New York, through work, who again are like brothers to me, and I love them like real love. And that, for me, like there's few things that make me cry more or that I respond to more than like movies or books or any content about like friendship that is like to the point that it is love.
Mm-hmm. And I think for queer people, especially for many of us, having not received this love in our homes, it is something that we ache for and we pursue it. And I feel super lucky, not just about the group of friends that you described, but I have always been very fortunate enough to have friends that I love. I feel deep connections with these people.
Yeah.
But the things that I think create friendships or friend groups, again, it's so surface sometimes. Like, I don't know what fucking bands my friends listen to. I don't care.
Right.
Like, whatever you have on in the car or on your iPod when you're commuting, like, I've never even thought to I've never even thought to ask. And that's just one of those things. It's like, oh, we like the same band, therefore we're friends. It's just the conversations and how they make me feel, and how when I'm going through it, the support they show. When they're going through it, the support I want to show.
Yeah.
Again, back to what I said about my husband, like when it comes to failures and upsets, this like deep, deep empathy. And when it comes to successes, this celebration.
Yeah.
Every single person who I love as a friend is so good specifically at those two things. And that's why the love is there.
Well, and you asked earlier, when did I know that I was in love with Toby? It's a very similar, like, it's just, for me, with these friends we're talking about, I just knew.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt the connection so quickly, so early on. Nothing had to happen to bring us together, no shared trauma or anything like that. I just met these people and was like, oh, we are kin, like we are family.
And what I think is true for you and Toby, which is also true for me and my husband, is and this is where it gets back to cheesy, he is my best friend. When I think about the hours that we have clocked together, I have spent more time with this man than my next closest friend by a lot. By just the gap
and
is
intimate
huge.
Time. I mean, you've seen this person in ways that nobody else has.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Especially because of what I activate in him, positive or negative.
Yeah.
I remember during COVID, we were just having our 500th dinner at home together. And he reached his hand across the table and he said, you know what? You're my best friend. And I go, thank you. I can't wait to tell my best friend you said that.
You're such a prick. Obviously, we talk on this show all the time about our open relationships, and so how love figures into that is an enormous topic. And we have a Go Ask Your Dad question this week exactly on that. So I want to continue talking about love, but under the guise of our Go Ask Your Dad segment. So let's take a quick break and come back and do our Go Ask Your Dad.
That sounds great. Listeners, welcome back to Dads and Daddies. We are arriving at the segment we call Go Ask Your Dad, where we address listener-submitted questions with our life experiences. Disclaimer, we are not mental health professionals or financial planners. We are just addressing your experience with our lived gay experience.
If you'd like to send us a question, please email us at dadsandaddies@gmail.com. This one was sent to us on an Instagram. We're there at Dads and Daddies Pod as a DM. My partner and I have pretty different outlooks on love versus sex. He sees them as intrinsically connected, and I can separate them when having sex with someone that isn't him. Any advice you can share on how we can come to a middle ground as we navigate opening our relationship?
Ooh, both of you are correct, right? Neither one of you is wrong in this situation. It is about how you feel. And my recommendation here, as you look to open your relationship, is to most likely start together, right? It doesn't sound like your husband is in a position to let you go full off on your own because of, appropriately, this connection between sex and love. But I think having the experience of sharing each other with another person might give him information personally that he does not love this other person. I think that he will be able to see that there is a separation between love and sex, if that is the goal where you are headed, by actually having sex with another person and seeing the distinction while also loving you a little more because you got to share something so cool together.
I love that. Many months ago now, which is crazy, we had a guest on the show, David Lauderstein, who talked about this concept of fleeting intimacy, which I love very much because, do I believe that love is intrinsically connected to sex? Yes and no, because I don't when it comes to like true love. I can have sex with a hookup and then leave it and know that it is entirely separate from this deep love I have with my husband. Everything I was just describing about the safety I feel with him, the trust I have for him. There is so much. I could never say all the things I said in my vows to anybody else. The way we cuddle on the couch at night and watch television is not something I would do with anybody else. The way we know each other, there's so much about our love that is much more about our time together, our deep investment in one another that can't be replicated with somebody else just because in the moment I had this sense of fleeting intimacy while having sex. That being said, when I have a really hot, great hookup, do I in the moment feel like I'm seconds away of saying I love you? Yeah, sometimes.
Same.
But it doesn't come out of my mouth, A. And B, that's part of the fun for me. These are play acting moments for me. And I love to have sex that is so good that makes me feel what's the word? I don't want to say the wrong word. A simulation of love, but it's not, for me, it's not love. And honestly, the second I come, it's gone. And then there's either the sweet chit chat goodbye or the awkward goodbye, regardless of how much love I may have, quote unquote, love I may have felt in the moment. But so I get it. It's very easy to feel like, oh my God, you're having sex with these people, and in those moments you feel this fleeting intimacy that feels so close to what love can feel like. But for me, I have realized, and I think, Judson, your suggestion is so smart, that bring him into situations where he can just kind of feel it for himself, because this is the kind of thing that you need to experience. You can't just hear it. That for me, it's a very different experience of love.
I think, too, it's important to acknowledge, and this sort of reminds me, Brian, of what you said, when you have another kid, like your heart expands, your love grows. Love as a concept and as a feeling is not finite. Right. It's not as though there are 100 slices of love from the pie to go around. Yeah. And if you take a slice of the pie and give it to a hookup, it's one less slice that you're giving to your husband.
Right.
having these feelings, even if they are the fleeting intimacy or being on the cusp of saying, I love you in the heat of a hookup, does not mean that you love your husband any less. I am in this situation, and I've shared about this particular man where I've met someone in the neighborhood who I am very sexually compatible with.
Yeah.
We probably have, for me, the best sexual compatibility outside of me and my husband.
Yeah.
And I've been able to share that with my husband, and I have been spending, because we just met and it's a little front loaded, a decent amount of time with this with this person. I am starting to feel love for him as a person because I am getting to know him so well.
Right.
And when I say love for him as a person, I just want to return to the idea of how we defined it in friendship. I am excited for his successes, and I feel pain in his failures and upsets. That is what I mean by love in the context of this guy that I am hooking up with. I do not want a boyfriend. He knows that I am happily married, and in what we learned is called social monogamy. I have a principal partner who I am absolutely focused on. But as I get to know this person who I happen to be sexually compatible with, I feel excited when he shares good news, and I feel bad when he shares bad news. And that, I think, in interacting with other humans is very natural and not going to pull away from or give you less love for your spouse.
And there's not the obsession that you felt for your husband when you first met him.
Not at all. Like, I can go through my day, through my week, through my month, not thinking about obsessing over this guy.
Right.
But even this morning, I saw a little block in my calendar where I know I'm going to be free. I shot him off a text like, hey, what are you doing this Tuesday?
Right.
Because I know if given the options, my husband's going to be out of town. Here's the thing.
Right.
If given the options are, not having sex with someone I know I'm going to enjoy, or spending countless hours, which I just did yesterday on the apps with, questionable results, I'm going to go for the solid.
Yeah. Thank you for the question.
Great question. I really am excited to hear how this develops for you guys. And if you're local and we're throwing a party, please come.
I'm not sure love is a topic that we can fully conquer in one episode.
We did it.
But I'm very curious to hear your responses, folks, to this episode and what you think. Please leave us a rating, leave us a review before you jump off of the platform on which you are listening to us. They help us immensely. Speaking of love, we love you very much.
We love you. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for listening. Thank you for defending us on the internet. So much heart.
Please also send us your Go Ask Your Dad questions and voice memos of your hookups of the week. If you don't know how to do that, you should have an iPhone app or an Android app called either Voice Memo or Voice Recorder, something like that. Record that file and then email it to us at dadsanddaddies@gmail.com. If you send us a voice message on Instagram, for instance, we can't download that. So please do send it to us via email. And we love sharing those stories and hearing your questions. Thank you all. We love you, and we'll see you in a week.
Love you, Brian.
I love you, Judson.